Hello, and welcome to Violin Teacher. Today I wanted to talk to you about the parts and function of the violin. In my videos, you will see that I reference the parts and functions. So at any time, if you can't remember the parts or the function or what I'm talking about, go ahead and pause that video and play this one again so that you can understand what I'm talking about. Okay, what I wanted to do was start from the highest point and work all the way down. You'll notice that here we have a decorative design. We call this the scroll, and it really doesn't have any function. It's just pretty much to look decorative. But attached to the scroll, you will find here a peg box. We've got 4 pegs that go into the peg box, and we use these pegs to tune your instrument, and they make pretty large adjustments. So let's say your instrument was really out of tune. You'll use the pegs to tune the instrument. And in another video I will talk how to tune the violin, but just know that these are made for tuning the instrument. Attached to the scroll are 2 things. We've got this part right here, which we call the neck, and then this big black part called the fingerboard. Now, if you look really close, you will see a raised section of the fingerboard right here called the nut, and that's where the strings kind of go in, and we call them grooves. And the nut, you see is slightly raised, and it's important. I will be talking more about that section when we talk about, how to play in the first position. So I know it looks really small and it might be hard to see, but make sure that you realize that right here where my fingers are touching is called the nut. Now, the fingerboard, as you can imagine, is where your fingers will eventually, touch down to make different sounds on the violin. So if I were to just play up the D string, you see that I get different sounds based on how many fingers I have down on the fingerboard. Now, when you look at your violin, you will see that there are 4 strings. The lower 2 look very thick, and then even the third one is relatively thick, and then this last one is thin. In order, they are G, D, A, and E. The G string sounding the lowest and getting higher. D, A, and finally E. Those are the 4 strings. We will be talking a lot about the E string initially, and all of your beginning pieces will be done primarily with this E string. Now, as we make our way down the violin, you will see there's this wooden object right there, and we call that the bridge. The bridge helps hold the strings up so that we can actually pluck and bow on. Contrary to popular belief, it is not glued down to the instrument. So if I were to, loosen all of these pegs at one time, the bridge would, collapse. So you want to avoid doing that. And beneath the bridge, I know it's really hard to see, you won't be able to see it in this video, but you can try looking yourself, is a sound post. It's this cylindrical object about that big, and it just connects the bottom to the top of the violin. And it helps generate the sound. Now, once we go over the bridge, you will see that the strings are connected to what we call the tailpiece. On the tailpiece, you will see that I've got 1 fine tuner. On a student quality instrument, which I hope you have, you will have 4 fine tuners. And the purpose of the fine tuner is to make adjustments to the pitch. So if your instrument was too low, you could go ahead move the fine tuner to get to the right pitch of the instrument. The fine tuner, I mean not the fine tuner, the tailpiece is then connected to what we call the end button, which is held in by the saddle of the violin. The end button connects everything together. So I've never seen this happen, but if the end button were to accidentally come loose, it would cause the saddle to come loose, which would mean the tailpiece, so all your strings would be flying backwards, your bridge would probably fly, and then your sound post inside would fall down. So you want to avoid doing anything crazy with the end button right here. Here we have what we call a chin rest, but this is a misnomer because when you play the violin, you actually will put your jaw up here. We never play with our chin in here because it causes tension. But know that this is called the chin rest, but we place our jaw there. If you take a look, we've got two engravings in the violin. That's where the sound comes out of, and we call them F holes because they're in the shape of the letter F. That's pretty much all you will need to know about that. One thing, if you look right here, we have what I call the bouts of the violin. And it's really important to make sure that you understand that because when we talk about left hand position, I'm going to say, all right, let's put your hand up at the bout. And you'll have to know that the bout is right here where your hand should go. This pretty much covers the parts and functions of the violin. If you need to reference this, please feel free to come back. It's a completely free video.